Hi, I'm Lorelei Yang, and I'm one of the opinions editors here at the Dartmouth. This week, we're having a roundtable with some of the guest writers and op-ed columnists who've written about the Board at Baker incident and the Dartmouth community as a whole in light of that incident. Here with me, I have three columnists and writers and guest writers who've written about this incident and reflected on some of the issues that the Board at Baker incident brings to light about both Board at Baker specifically and the Dartmouth community. Today we'll be talking a little bit about their columns, and we'll be having a dialogue about what the Dartmouth community can take from the Board at Baker incident going forward, and how we as a community can improve as we move on from this incident. So I'll let them each introduce themselves really quickly. So we'll start with Sadia.
Awesome. I'm Sadia Hassan. I wrote the article on the first article, Where's Your Outrage? Just kind of trying to mobilize some kind of some form of like a student movement that will maybe encourage the administration to kind of take a stance, do something about sexual assault and the way it manifests on this campus and all kinds of other things that students kind of work against like year after year after year, but we don't really see any incremental change. So I was just trying to write about that.
I'm Blaine Ponto. I'm a 14, and in my kind of response, I wrote about how Dartmouth has a culture of being all talk and no action, and kind of speaking out against the pure activism and encouraging Dartmouth students to look for actual solutions to the problems that our campus faces.
And I'm Aylin Woodward. I'm a 15, and I sort of wrote a column at the end of the week after both of them had published, and mine was sort of a call for unity, I guess, in this outrage, and I highlight the fact that Dartmouth has a collective action problem, and sort of looking into where this collective action problem stemmed from and how we can unify as a community, because that's really the only way we're going to make any incremental change.
So with that said, it seems so each of you come to this issue with slightly different takes on what we should do next. So I think that it would be really interesting for our readers to hear the three of you kind of talk a little bit about why you hold the positions you hold, and maybe through this discussion we'll come to some conclusions about where Dartmouth should go as we move forward from this incident, especially in light of some of the issues that our administration has been having with admissions figures and with the OCR coming back to campus again. So anyone who wants to start, go ahead.
Want to start?
I'd rather not, if that's
All right.
okay.
Well, I guess, as a whole, the reason this issue really hits home for me is because I'm really concerned about Dartmouth and my Dartmouth and Dartmouth in the future. And, the fact that application rates have gone down 14% is huge. And, I work as a tour guide, and it's like everybody on this campus busts their butts to get the new generation of Dartmouth to come, but we can't even mobilize as a collective in a positive manner that doesn't affect those who will come after us. And I think that sexual assault is a huge issue that needs to be addressed, but I'm concerned about the cost of the way that we're going about addressing it and what that has on the community, I guess.
What I really liked about Aylin's piece was that she did call for, or that I guess you did call for coalition amid people, and I think it's really important to recognize that the administration has actually pioneered a bunch of new programs, even stuff like the DBI and reading the Committee on Sexual Assaults, reading their recommendations is incredible because they lay out this really fantastic plan, and that's I think one of the best things I've seen, calling out very specific groups and being like, hey, you guys need to do this, and so without really pointing fingers at any specific group and saying, you haven't done enough, and it also draws upon all of campus to contribute what they can do. And so I think that's what I really liked, in that you brought up that we as a community, as a holistic community, including everyone, can help. And I think that was what I most strongly disagreed with about your piece, that it seemed very isolating to a portion of campus that, to bring up another D article, that does carry a large amount of the power, but also with that power, I think has the ability to influence change on this campus if they're incorporated in the conversation.
This is true. I definitely think incorporating as many voices as possible in the conversation is always a necessary step towards change. What I was speaking to and also was wary of is the way students who are already like marginalized on this campus for various reasons continuously when policy is sometimes created, the policy isn't created with them in mind, and so it just kind of creates pockets of further and further marginalization, right? Like, so how do we create policy that addresses sexual assault while also addressing the way power manifests in fraternities, such that it also can speak to the way these spaces work on this campus, right? So like not only attacking like sexual assaults in isolation, but also talking about the disproportionate amount of like worry about financial aid and like grief over if people can afford books and grief over like feeling like you need to rush to kind of be a part of a larger campus that you constantly feel like you're working towards getting to be a part of, but like you never quite make it there even after 4 years of attending here. So I will definitely admit that I don't necessarily feel a part of the larger Dartmouth campus as much as I really love what I've accomplished in my 4 years here and the people that I've met. I think Dartmouth brings really, really, really brilliant students here, year after year after year. We're really great at that. But I think there are some students that disproportionately kind of bear the brunt of some of the injustices here at the expense of maintaining a facade.
Yeah.
Not only a facade, but like recreational activities, right? Like, 70% of campus can continue to participate in fraternities and sororities, and I don't have a problem with groups and coalitions, but I think, like, I can't ignore when people are saying, like, it really hurts to be here. Like, it really hurts to exist here. So then that existence, I think, is rooted in some fundamental injustice. And I'll admit, my piece is, like, rooting around for trying to find out where that injustice is coming from, right? And, like, I think we should all be doing that together, and like wherever we can find it, be able to speak up on it. I'm personally, I'm really happy that a lot of people have been writing in and like talking to whatever they can speak to, because that only empowers more people to enter that conversation.
Certainly. Yeah. No, I think that's the power of your piece lies in the fact that it did open sort of this like tide of dialogue, which is great. And yeah, even though people are sort of butting heads extremely, it's still a conversation that needs to be had. I'm just sort of concerned about the fact that we're really dealing with two different issues here that are sort of like converged at this focal point. We're dealing with the issue of social ostracization, Greek life, stratification, and then we're also dealing with the sexual assault piece of it, and I'm worried that in our quest to find sort of the foundation of that injustice, which exists, certainly, that we'll lose the battle against sexual assault, because I feel like that issue needs to be tabled in order for us to implement change on that front. And that was the only reason I was calling for a more coalition, unified action, because I want that sexual assault piece dealt with right away. And then I feel like if we succeed in that aspect, success on the other front will be so much, not easier, but so much.
We'll have one less issue to deal with.
Or like it'll be something that we like all achieve together, and so now we can sort of admit that there are different groups of people on campus that suffer differently and experience Dartmouth differently.
So that in order to deal with this one issue, we do have to come together as a community, and I guess deal with our problems one at a time, more so. So in keeping with kind of the theme of my piece, what would you guys each like to see on either the issue of like, what do you want either students or the administration to do, like specifically, in terms of what you perceive as like marginalization of certain groups on campus, which is totally a thing, and what do you think what would be the best way to unify the Dartmouth community around one issue at a time?
God, I feel like we're going to agree on this. It doesn't matter,
I actually just wanted to speak to the tabling an issue. I think, or so that we can go after sexual assault, go full in at sexual assault. The only thing is sexual assault affects different communities differently, right? So for a queer person, it may be a type of sexual assault they don't want to talk about, right? Like no one wants to say that they feel like they were correctively raped because someone could sense that they were. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, you know, like, so I feel like sometimes opening up the issue and complicating it creates us to be more dynamic and more innovative, and definitely less willing to settle for a policy that gets at the issue on one level, but then really ignores it on multiple levels. So even if so I feel like, you know what I mean, like the same person who deals with sexual assault probably will have no idea how to deal with financial aid, right? So like we're not going to be able to deal with them at the same time, in the sense that the same person's going to find the issues. But I do think that we shouldn't, and also it's also then the administration know that, like, yes, like we can go at this now, but like we also will not continue to be like economically disadvantaged here, or you know what I mean. So it's always having your cards on the table and letting that be.
And they're sort of inevitably rooted in each other anyway.
But coalition building is definitely
so going back to Blaine's question really quickly, I am curious to see what the two of you, what thoughts you all have on the action steps that you individually believe Dartmouth should take going forward. Maybe, you know, if you believe that sexual assault is the first thing we should deal with, what is the first step we should be taking right now? And how can we capitalize on the energy and interest around this issue that is built up over the past, honestly, yes, you could say the past month, but you could honestly also argue just over the past year, since last year. So, what are your all's thoughts on it?
I'm really curious, how do you think that the voices of under-recognized or under-voiced communities could be better heard by the administration? Or how would you what steps would you like the administration or the student body to take to incorporate those alternate views?
I think, so the administration is always working with either student leaders or certain committees to kind of shape policy regarding faculty retention and recruitment, right? And even sexual assault. I would like to see students on a larger scale kind of incorporated into those communities, or into those committees, like working groups. The way things are set up now, it's like you can only have like 3-4 students on a committee, and like the rest have to be like professors and such. So I would like us to create like larger forums for students to give input. And I also would like when students say that like it hurts here, or like emotionally it's taxing, or my mental health is suffering, to not have to hear things like, but how are you doing academically, right? Or like, okay, so the emotion is one piece, but where are the stats? You know what I mean? So I just feel like, personally, I don't know what to do. I would like to see us do something different. You know what I mean? I would like to see us, whether it's the working groups with administrators, whether it's like town hall style meetings, whether it's, I don't know. I would actually like to know what other students are thinking. You know what I mean? We're constantly on ground, like drafting, you know, looking at what all is missing from communities, you know what I mean? Like students constantly are bringing things to the administrator's attention, and it's always a matter of like, oh, there's not enough money for that, or like this only affects like too few students,
that's
so like we can't do it. So
I mean, that is a real concern.
Certainly.
We like to imagine Dartmouth as having this enormous endowment, but it really does only have so much money, and there's been funding cut like across all departments, and sometimes it does come down to like, well, the administration does have to serve like a large quantity of students. So, but I do think you're right in that the administration could like reach out more to diverse groups on campus to get those perspectives. I personally would like to see more of a like more resources made available. I think one of the problems that Dartmouth students face is that we don't know where to go to with our problems. So even when students say, oh, here's a problem that I would like to solve, who do I go talk to when I have these financial aid problems? Who do I talk to if I'm to seek an answer about sexual assault? So I think that even if it's like Stall Street journals with like, here's a bunch of topics and here's people made available. Oh, if you don't want to go into iBanking, like who should I talk to at Career Services about going to NGOs? And like, so I think more transparent lists of resources for Dartmouth students would be really effective.
I mean, again, like you both brought up really good points. Like, we don't know where to go from here. We know that we want something different, but we don't know how to get there. And I feel like, so that's sort of step one, and now step two is sort of the reality of how we get from here to there. And I think that while it seems bleak, I'm sort of always an optimist. I've met Phil Hanlon a lot on occasion, and that guy really is going to take us places. And I feel like now, again, as Lorelei was saying, now is sort of the time where we need to direct where we want to go, and I feel like they will listen. You know, they're implementing the new living learning communities around campus, and I think that is that could be a segue into bigger and better things. And I think sort of the genesis of all of the issues that we're talking about really does lie in the different social circles that never overlap. And I feel like if we can address something like that, we can address everything. And, you know, certainly that's not going to fix sexual assault on campus, but that will fix the root of the issue, maybe.
Like you said, we bring really brilliant students to campus, and I'd like to see all of those brilliant students applying themselves to solve the
And I don't want to
problems
see them suffering and upset and hurt, and I don't want to see us fighting. I'm just so sick of all of this. It's not good.
And I'm a senior.
On that note, thank you all so much for your time. We hope that you all have learned as much as I have from this conversation. And you know, if you see these lovely ladies around campus, be sure to talk to them.